Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you this fan-based podcast endorsed by Uriah Heep, believe it or not, which is really awesome. And boy, it's kind of weird. Every time I get to the end of one of these albums, I feel a bit nostalgic. I feel like, you know, I'm going through these so fast, but at the same time, like savoring every song. It's such a weird feeling. But I thank you guys who are with me on this journey. Some of you have been here since day one. Some of them, this might be the first episode you've listened to. So thank you very much. And speaking of thanks, it is Monday. And you know, on Monday, I always find it's good to start the week with a little bit of gratitude. There are some very generous folks out there who give their money every month to the show to help me cover the costs of keeping it on the air, and I appreciate that very much. At the $5 Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore. Thank you, Kenny. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, and Frank Thielgaard Mortensen. Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. And at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, the one who is locked up like a mausoleum, the airtight gravesite. I should say that creepier, shouldn't I? Airtight gravesite. Oh, that was maybe a little too Vincent Price-ish. But in any case, thank you all very much. I really appreciate the fact that you enjoy the show so much that you're willing to go that far to support it. Also want to thank everyone who's given a rating or a review of the show online. I have not checked throughout the rest of the world, but I know there haven't been any new ones in the North American continent for a while. But for those of you guys who get something out of the show, enough to keep listening and want to give a little extra back, thank you very much for taking the time to do that. It is deeply appreciated. It really does mean a lot to me. Also, we have some people that have helped make this show what it is. Scott Lazinski, who did an amazing job on the artwork that you see every week for the show in the logo, both the dark logo and the light logo, and then the round logos that you see on social media sites. He did all those, and he did an absolutely fantastic job. And he's got a new project coming up soon that I'm really looking forward to announcing and getting into myself. But for now, I'll leave it at that. Audionamics, my friends over there who make the most amazing products. Instant Dialogue Cleaner, or IDC, is a product that I will not do a podcast without. I use it also on audiobooks. I use it sometimes when I have to do some outdoor sound design. I use it on all kinds of stuff besides the podcast, but I absolutely will not do a podcast without it. Go check it out at audionamics.com. And also they have another product that helps separate bits of music out so that you can, hear what different things are doing. It's really good for learning, like maybe guitar solos or what keyboard parts are playing. Maybe you can't hear something in the drums. It isolates out the different tracks into 4 tracks. You've got vocals, drums, bass, and other. So other would be your keyboards and guitars, any other instruments that would fall into those general note ranges. But it is an amazing product, absolutely stunning. So if you need that, go check it out. If you want to learn a Uriah Heep solo, might be worth a subscription to get on that and, see what you can do to isolate out what the guitars are doing or what the keyboards are doing so you can learn a solo here and there. Really cool product. Also, you know what? Dave White, who's just been the most awesome guy and so helpful since I started working on this show, he sends out the announcements to all the, Uriah Heep media outlets with the exception of, I think just Instagram is the only one that he doesn't do. But he's always like right on top of it. If there's an issue or anything, he lets me know right away. He's definitely been a great source for me getting this podcast out there to everybody. So thank you very much, Dave. All the social media work that you do for Uriah Heep is absolutely incredible. There are, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some other people that do shows similar to this, each in their own way. My brothers in the Deep Dive podcast. We have the gentleman that introduced me to this wonderful group of people, Nate and John over the Deep Purple podcast. We have the Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered, which is a podcast on Leonard Skinnerd. He's doing a little bit of a diversion right now. So go check that out at Skinnerd Reconsidered. Also, Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side. Fantastic interview show. Man, I'm just blown away by the guests that he gets and how good he is at interviewing them. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast, who has done all the Black Sabbath songs and is now moved on to the legacy of Ozzy Osbourne. Paul, Joe, and David over at the Lap of the Pods Queen Podcast. Pretty much everything I know about Queen, I've learned from them. I knew very little. I knew they did a really good song with David Bowie. I knew they had a couple of other songs that you hear all the time. But apart from that, knew very little about Queen. And those guys have done a great job of educating me on that band. And, you know, I gotta mention my friend Brandon over at Metallicast, who came and joined me for an episode that turned into 4 episodes here at Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. He has a great show on Metallica. Go and check that out. Ace, who is the band's manager, has a wonderful show that you can catch on YouTube and Stitcher Radio. It is called Ace on Music. He talks about all kinds of things within the music business, being a band manager. He has a lot of experience and a very interesting perspective. Also talks about stuff I didn't even know existed, and I've been doing this for a long time. So great show to listen to. And if you want to do some reading, go check out gottahearemall.com, where my friend Allegra has lined out so much information about the live histories of both Deep Purple and Emerson, Lake and Palmer / Emerson, Lake and Powell. And just does a lot of great research, great information over there. So go take some time and dig into that when you have a moment. If you want to follow this show, our main hub is at my website, scotthaskin.com. Click on that Uriah Heep podcast link. At Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Uriah Heep Podcast. At Twitter, we are at Heep Podcast. Instagram, we are at Uriah Heep Podcast. And if you want to get on that mailing list and get your chance to win a monthly prize, get on that email. If you go to the main site, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you will see the sign up for the email address link, as well as a sign up for Patreon or a PayPal thing where you can donate or sign up for monthly donations there. If you are interested in doing that, it would be much appreciated. And that's all at scotthaskin.com/Uriah Heep Podcast. Just follow that link down there. The links are also in the show notes. But I recently learned, actually, tried to do this. Tried to go to some of the different apps where this podcast appears, which is pretty much all the major networks. And there are some differences, like on Spotify. If show notes exist on Spotify, I cannot find them. I would be amazed if they actually appear there anywhere. I have looked extensively. There's only so many places you can go on the Spotify app. Now, they may appear on the website. That I don't know. But if you go, I have the iPhone app, and I do not see them anywhere. So, some of the places may have it, some may not. So if you're trying to find a link in your, whatever pod app that you're listening to, you don't see them, you can always write me, or you can switch to a different app where they might have that. I know the Podbean app, which is the hub of the show, they're the ones that do all the distribution to all the other sites for me. They are, all the notes are there all the time. So reach out to me if you're having any problems. Otherwise, man, just enjoy the show. Now, today we are doing the last bonus track on the album Return to Fantasy. This one, because it was not a demo version, does not feature Gary Thane. It does feature John Wetton on bass. This one is called The Time Will Come. It's a great song. I really love it. Another powerful one that I'm really kind of surprised they left off the album. But I kind of figured out maybe why. So according to the official Uriah Heep website, this was recorded for the Return to Fantasy album during those sessions in 1975. However, it was originally released as the Return to Fantasy B-side on the single only in Germany because fuck the rest of the world. Now, this was a very common thing for record companies. I don't know really when they stopped doing that. The whole record company world is so different now that it's kind of hard to explain the way it was back then and have it make sense, because record companies are completely different now in the way they run. But back then they did a lot of slick things like this to try and slip things out into the market that would become collector's items that would be limited release in certain areas, but would eventually, get in the hands of other people. So then it becomes a rarity. So then it becomes, now I've got to have it. And then the demand for that song becomes heavier. Sometimes they do it to try and push the sales so that in a concentrated market, so that it boosts the radio playability or the charts in that market. There's all kinds of strategies and different things that they did. Certainly making something a rarity was a trick up their sleeve that they played often. And I'm not just talking about Uriah Heep's record company. I mean, all record companies were doing this well into the 80s. So in any case, this one only came out in Germany. So that would also explain why, again, on this version, we do have a full and proper mix as opposed to the demo versions that we're typically used to hearing on these unreleased tracks. So here is The Time Will Come, just a powerful song by the band Uriah Heep, our last track for Return to Fantasy. What a nice, heavy sounding song. Great riff, real simple, but it has real character to it. I love what the guitars are doing. Interestingly, we're hearing those on the right ear this time, which seems a little odd because the guitars are usually in the left, but sounds good. Drum mix is great. Bass is solid. The bass, for some reason, because it's not exactly playing the same thing, but it reminds me of the bass on Circle of Hands during that opening section for some reason. I don't know exactly why I'm making that connection because it's not that it doesn't do the same thing there that it does in Circle of Hands, but for some reason that comes to mind. So, that's just my crazy brain, which does whatever it does, and I hold no responsibility for it. But good song, solid start to this song, and we'll see where it goes next. I really like the mood of this song. It just feels so good. It's not dark, but it feels like it's on the edge of being dark. And I love the vocal line there. I love the sound of the guitar. Keyboards keeping everything nice and full sounding. It's a good mix. It's such a great feeling and mood to this song. Really wish there were more songs like this. Doesn't that sound nice? Just to have a place you can go and not worry about anything. I mean, that really sounds like paradise to me. And I love the backing vocals after that. They come in so nice, just really rich and full. Good song. I could be wrong, but I think that part in there is the same progression as, I want to say, Pilgrim. But like I said, I could also be wrong. I love the transitions here. I love the little accents. I love the way that they change it up at the end of those passages there. Just a lot of great stuff going on. Very creative, but it flows so smoothly, even though the parts are different. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason with that vocal line, I'm getting a flashback to Dreammare. And it could be that, sometimes when bands write so much material, some bits get subliminally copied from one song to another. Sometimes there's just a similar inflection of it that subconsciously reminds you of something. And sometimes it's just the ramblings of the guy that's doing the podcast talking to you about the song, and it means nothing whatsoever. So the choice is yours. But in any case, it's solid writing. It's a great performance. Love the feel of it. So just really enjoying the song. No! What? I finally get another blistering guitar solo and they fade it into oblivion? What the hell? That is so unfair. I want to know where that solo is going. It was just getting, really just riding with energy and had a lot going on. And I want to know what he did after that. That was some good stuff. Damn it. It happens though. But it's interesting, another song where there's no solo during the song. It's saved for the end if we hear one at all. And, it's just taken away just like that. I would say, though, that this could have been a great ending song to the album as well. This album has like 3 songs that could have ended it perfectly. But definitely loved what Mick was doing there, what I could hear of it. And hopefully we'll get some more killer guitar solos on the next album, because there weren't that many guitar solos on this album at all, which is surprising. With the way it kicks off, you just think this is going to be a killer rock and roll album. And it is a great album, but it's not like a full on rock and roll album from beginning to end. There's a lot more gentle stuff on here than that initial song would lead you to believe, but certainly a lot of great songs. Obviously, if you listen to all the episodes through this season, you know that I've enjoyed every one of them thoroughly. The band, here we are, a full 8 seasons in now, and there still hasn't been a song that I haven't liked, that I haven't found some really good stuff in to enjoy. And maybe that's just my attitude as a more optimistic person. I don't know. But when I hear people going like, that album wasn't that good, it's usually because of a couple of different things. One, it was that it wasn't what they expected or what they wanted that band to release. And you have to look at what was on the previous album, coming off of, the last album going on to this one. And from this one, we're talking about Wonderworld, which I thought was a great album coming into Return to Fantasy. Maybe they expected certain things of the band and didn't get it, so it turned them off to the album. Maybe there were things going on in people's lives at the time that just caused them to not really give the album a chance. There's so many variables of different things it could be. And that's why when people say an album was good or an album was bad, I don't listen. You know what? Give the album a chance yourself. Go into it with an open mind and see what you think of it. But even now, every day I see people posting this stuff and I'm like, you're not helping anybody. If you have some valid reasons, like the mix was really bad or this wasn't there, and that's what this band represents for me, that kind of stuff I can understand. But if you're just going to be like, I don't like that album, all right, well, good for you. Don't ruin it for everyone else. Be smarter than that. If that's the kind of stuff that you're seeing posted online, be smarter than that. And if you like the band, give their album a chance. That's the way I look at it anyway. So great song, though. Great way to kick off our week and great way to end our voyage through Return to Fantasy. So starting tomorrow, we've got High and Mighty and one of my favorite Uriah Heep songs, One Way or Another. We'll be talking about that one tomorrow with a very special guest. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!